Tracy, thanks. In the last week, thousands of people are out of work as companies scramble to stay afloat during this whole outbreak. As thousands of people apply for unemployment, the state is taking steps to protect people from being evicted right now. Team 12's Jen Wahl joins us live from the state capitol with those details. Good morning, Jen.
Yeah, good morning to you, Ryan. So Governor Doug Ducey's latest executive order coming down yesterday. So this one, it prevents renters from evicting tenants who are under quarantine or financially unstable because of the coronavirus outbreak. This is big and will hopefully give some relief to so many in a bind right now. A massive wave of workers are out of work or facing job loss any day because the virus spread forced many cities to order all but the most essential services to close. The state order will stay in effect for 120 days. According to the state, there were 29,000 claims for the first-time jobless benefits last week. That's almost 8 times the number of the week before and triple the highest weekly number during the depths of the Great Recession in 2009. Now, the rent relief here in Arizona comes 1 week after the U.S. Department of Housing and Federal Housing Finance Agency each announced a 60-day suspension on all evictions on properties it's financed across the U.S. So when it comes to the coronavirus here in Arizona, case numbers continue to multiply. Right now, there are 326 confirmed cases in the state. 199 of those are right here in Maricopa County. So far, there have been 6 reported deaths across Arizona. And as each morning prior this week, we do expect a 9 a.m. update from the Arizona Department of Health Services on coronavirus case numbers. Stay with 12news.com and the 12 News app for the very latest there. For now, we're live from the state capitol. Jen Wahl, Today in AZ.